No one can stop me when I taste the feeling. Nothing could ever bring me down. No one can stop me when I taste the feeling. Nothing could ever bring me down. Taste the feeling.
Hello and welcome to another podcast of Behind the Bottle, where we reveal the secrets of Coca-Cola in Czech Republic and Slovakia. It is my great pleasure to welcome here another amazing guest, Akis Delkis, our sales manager. Akis, welcome.
Thank you, Ladia. I'm excited to be here with you this morning.
Thank you.
And enjoy my morning coffee with you. It's fantastic.
Thank you so much. Maybe to start on a lighter note,
Yep.
Last time we had here Lukáš Zapletal, and we started with this or that questions. You need to answer real quick, and we will get to know you a bit more on a personal side.
Okay, go ahead.
Cool. So, real fast. You can comment it afterwards, but real fast. Red or blue?
Red.
That was easy one. Sunbathing on the beach or trekking in the mountains?
Sunbathing on the beach.
That was easy as well. Summer or winter?
Summer.
Monster or Cappy?
Cappy.
Stability or taking smart risks?
Taking smart risks.
Tom or Jerry?
Tom.
Richness or happiness?
Happiness.
Baseball or soccer?
I know nothing about baseball, soccer.
Okay. Train or bus?
Train.
Book or TV show?
TV show.
Moussaka or Svíčková?
Moussaka, clearly.
I know that the last one would be fun because you're Greek by origin. Could you tell us a bit more about yourself? I know that, for example, you're a hard worker, but could you tell us how you relax and how do you like Czech Republic?
Czech Republic is a fantastic place to be. Being a family of three and having also my wife and my son here, we are enjoying a lot. Being in this country is very hospitable country for families. It has amazing nature. Prague is a fantastic international city where you can meet people and cultures of all sort. So you really feel very well and very comfortable in Czech Republic. On my free time, which is I would say rather limited in the past few months, given the conditions that we all experience with this pandemic. Currently, I'm walking a lot. I'm using my bike through the forest. I'm playing a lot with my son. We're doing various interesting things of learning activities. We are doing mathematics, linguistics, because he's a trilingual kid being exposed into this environment. Of course, meeting with some limited and precautionary measures with friends, which we very much need as humans.
Yeah, that's amazing. Are there any major differences between Greek and Czech culture?
I would say yes, there are, but nothing that would make a Greek or a Czech not feeling well in each other's country. I think European cultures are very much close. They have a common past to a very certain extent. There are common intersections of history at some point in the past, which makes it comfortable. One major difference that I would see that the Greeks typically would hook on you a little bit faster than the Czechs, which will be a little bit more reserved until to get to know you better. But other than that, I think within the European cultural trait, both can find themselves very well in many intersections.
In Czech teams, it's quite important to build a trust, isn't it?
I think yes. Trust is very important.
Coming back a bit to your personal life, is there any professional deformation you have built in Coca-Cola? Because, for example, when I travel abroad, I'm always checking coolers, whether they are nice and clean, and full of our products. Do you have something like that?
Yes, I have a couple. One is to observe competition. I like to see the packaging solutions that competition is developing. So, especially if there are things that I'm not aware of, like multi-packing or carton trays of cans with high profile that I'm seeing in Czech Republic, or non-returnable glass bottle solutions. So I like to observe packaging solutions of competition and try to see how this can fit with our portfolio. And the other thing that I'm obsessed about is prices. Being a big fan of microeconomics, I love to observe prices and try to think back how the total price is shared among stakeholders within the value chain, starting from what the government gets in the face of taxes, going back to what the retailer gets, or the trader gets, or the Horeca owner gets, and then the vendor. And at the end of the day, what is the part of the value that the consumer enjoys when makes a particular choice?
I think that I know where your passion for prices comes from, because originally in Czech Republic you started as a chief financial officer.
Yes.
And you made quite an interesting move towards the role of sales manager. Could you please tell us a bit more about your career path?
Yes, I'm a finance professional by nature, not by studies. I studied something different. Then somehow I started in finance because it is a numeric field, so I like numbers. I spent in finance 17 years of my career. I was the CFO of this company for 2.5 years. And then the opportunity came to contribute to what we're trying to do here from a very different perspective. And I saw it as a once-in-a-lifetime chance for me to learn something new and contribute from a totally different angle in a business unit and in a company that I love. And that's why I made this choice. And I'm very happy about this. I learned myself a lot, and I think I'm going to learn even much more going forward after the COVID times are over.
Yeah, but doing sales in beverage industry in Czech Republic and Slovakia isn't easy.
It's not easy at all.
Could you tell us maybe differences that you have noticed between our markets and maybe other markets in Europe?
Yes, I don't know all the markets in Europe. I know a few. I understand very well Greece, Poland, Switzerland, which are countries that I have lived in. I understand Spain. I've spent some time in Spain. And I also know from my corporate office roles how some markets behave. And what strikes me in Czechoslovakia are two things. Number one is the importance of the category of beer. In what consumers drink. Czech Republic has by far the highest per capita consumption of beer in the world. I think it is ×2 the second, which is Germany. And I would risk saying that it's 190 or 200 liters per year, which is a stunning number. And if you think that humans drink approximately the same amount of liquids per year, and you extrapolate and you say from the total amount of liquids, 200 are occupied by beer, which is a low alcohol thing, competing very directly, in a direct manner with our categories, then that one would realize how small potentially the alcohol-free beverages can be. The second thing that it's very different and strikes me a lot is that I cannot recall of any other market where in our primary category, which is sparkling soft drinks, there are 3 branded competitors. Typically, we are in an environment where you have Coke and Pepsi and then the private labels. But here we have another very strong local heritage competitor in the face of Kofola, a very interesting brand and a very interesting proposition with strong cultural ties with the Czech consumer, which makes the game totally different among us. So I think these are the 2 most interesting characteristics: how the consumers make choices and the impact of beer in the whole ecosystem of beverages, dominating the share of throat, as we call it, and the very high competitiveness on the supplier side.
Coming back to your passion for prices,
Yeah.
it must have been interesting seeing beer sometimes in restaurants cheaper than water.
Yes, that shocked me, and I have one particular story to share. We're traveling with some friends to Bratislava, and we ordered some beers, and then the lady brought 4 half-liter 11 grade beers of a very well-established brand, which is also my preferred brand. And for the 4 beers in the train, she asked for 80 Czech crowns. And I thought that she said 800 because she got confused. So I was ready to pay 200 crowns per beer in the train, sitting to enjoy the beer. So I give her 800, and she says to me, no, it's 80. And then if you extrapolate and you think 20 Czech crowns for a glass half-liter 11th grade beer on a train, it's really not understandable where the value is sitting and how cheap it is and how competitive makes this environment on the consumer side, as I said, dominating the share of throat.
Easy for consumers, tough for competitors.
Taste the feeling.
Corona crisis
Yes.
wasn't really easy for us. Mentioning HoReCa and of course overall tough impact for our business.
Yes.
How did we react?
I think we did a lot of things. We did a lot of nice things, and we started from the fundamental. And the fundamental at these times is the health, safety, and well-being of the people. I think we were one of the first companies in Czech Republic, and we got also awarded for that, establishing a very strong health and safety protocol to prevent, from one hand, the widespread of the disease within the community we operate and we work in, by protecting the people in the field, protecting the people in the plant, also taking very early measures prohibiting or discouraging access to the office, testing from very early on. We provided safety equipment. And at the same time, we ran a very strong platform of communication to the employees weekly and bi-weekly, depending on the intensity of the pandemic. There was a lot of communication from our side. We maintained employment as it was. So we did a lot of things that I consider as, for me, individually, hygiene factors to feeling engaged with your current employment. And for that, I'm very proud of this company. COVID now will leave its marks behind, because I think everybody understands this in our times. I'm very much looking forward to evaluate the COVID results 5 years from now, because I don't think the marks of COVID are going to be visible in the immediate future. And I'm particularly interested to see how this pandemic will change the workplace. I think people understood, and technology caught up also to support this understanding, that virtual work or a different type of work is possible, and you can still remain productive using different methods. And I'm looking forward to see how this will impact societies, urbanization, the environment, the acceleration, the exponential acceleration of technology. I expect this will have big impacts.
Yeah, there are some learnings behind, but looking further this way, for example, 5 years, 10 years, is there a long-term vision for Coca-Cola Hellenic? Can you sum it up in one sentence?
Yes, Coca-Cola Hellenic Latvia wants to be the #1 beverage partner for its customers 24/7. The 24/7 for us is a very important notion, which means covering consumer needs with our portfolio 24 hours per day, 7 days a week, practically being present in every occasion. So delighting consumers through adding superior value to our customers, and ultimately being the undisputed #1 beverage supplier. That's our clear vision and our clear strategic intent.
So beverage for every occasion.
Beverage for every occasion.
We have wide portfolio. Which product is your favorite?
Coca-Cola Zero by far. So I'm an early adopter of Coca-Cola Zero, and not because of being a zero product, but because I simply like the taste. I adopted the brand when it was first launched in Greece in 2007, I think I adopted it. It was launched in 2005. And since then, I have been one of the most loyal consumers of Coca-Cola Zero, being a daily, at least, drinker. Then Natura. I'm a big fan of Natura. I'm very proud of us as Coca-Cola Hellenic Bottling Company acquiring in the face of Natura our second production facility in Czech Republic. I was part of this project, and I like the product a lot. I like the natural characteristics of the water, the composition, the mineralization, the low mineralization of the water is very much matching my taste profile, so much that I cannot switch to other waters now, to tap water or other brands. So I've been very much associated with this. Then I like Kinley a lot. I like the new flavors of Kinley. Particularly bitter rose is one of the drinks that I drink straight when out. I think these three are my top ones.
And who's working with them? Your sales team. And we often say in Coca-Cola Hellenic that there are only two kinds of people. Actually, those one who sell and those one who help them sell. Would you agree with that? And if you would have to describe a perfect person for our sales team, perfect salesman, how would she or he look like?
Is simplifying enough and is describing enough the missions we have in Coca-Cola Hellenic, because we are a selling organization. So sales is the core of what we do, and within this context, I believe it simplifies and attaches a mission to all of us. And I'm a very big fan of this statement. Yes, we have people who sell directly and people who help to sell. I would add another third dimension if I would choose this one, and people who produce, because producing is not help to sell. But if we incorporate it in the wider help to sell context, yes, in this sense it's help to sell. When it comes to the ideal sales profile, I would identify a few characteristics. Number one, I would identify the attitude of winning in the marketplace. The attitude of somebody who identifies opportunity in the field when interacting with the customers, and opportunity that will create value for the customers at the end of the day by unpacking solutions that were not there before. I see also the attitude of a person who is entrepreneurial, who thinks out of the box, who finds options that were not there. I see also somebody who is highly engaged, believes in what this company is doing, believes in what this company is adding to its customers, is very much motivated and eager to, through being self-engaged, contribute to the company, but also act in a manner that the customer is going to enjoy the maximum benefit through working with us. That's our sales force.
Taste the feeling.
Going again a bit into the future, do you see any trends for our business, for retail, for HoReCa, FMCG overall?
Yes, I think the major trend is that the lines between alcohol and alcohol-free beverages are starting to get blurry. We see the beer penetrating very much with radlers and alcohol-free beer, the categories where we are playing. The Coca-Cola system globally is doing the same, penetrating beer with low alcohol content beverages in the face of hard seltzer. So I see these lines of the low alcohol, no alcohol beverages getting blurry, and I think overall the environment of low alcohol and no alcohol is growing at the expense of our hard alcohol spirits. That's a mega trend and it will continue. I think the occasions are going to shift. People will not go back in HoReCa in the way they were in HoReCa in 2019. Traveling will come back, HoReCa will come back, but it will come back in different forms. I see more of this habit of staying at home and the occasions around staying at home, encouraged also by the shift of the workplace more in at home, is going to create a different environment. That's going to be another mega trend. And the other mega trend is going to be that in our industry in particular, we will see more and more of our competitors going towards the 24/7. I think you cannot anymore in this world compete only with one category because you will not be able to build scale. And without scale, if you are not occupying a very niche space in a certain segment, for example, in the tonics, we see a lot of niche companies. In the spirits, we see a lot of niche companies. I think scale will matter more a lot when it comes to the industry going forward. And of course, the niche staying niche, no doubt, but scale by adding and expanding horizontally portfolio will be another mega trend.
What do you look forward to the most in 2021?
Holidays.
They are coming.
Holidays. I'm looking forward for holidays. I miss home. Haven't been for a very long period of time at home, and I haven't been properly at home. Even last summer when I was there, we were in a kind of restricted environment. I think I speak on behalf of many people. Many people miss holidays. Many people miss moments of relaxation and miss going back to a kind of normal.
And maybe last question, if you could share with us a tip for personal development, a book, nice person to follow, or podcast, web?
I'm very much a Wikipedia guy, so I like I like this, and I find extremely smart this idea of Wikipedia of navigating in one piece of information and then clicking. So that's what I'm using very much. But if I want to suggest a book that got me really impressed, is the 21 Lessons for the 21st Century from Nahari. It was extremely well written piece of work, and it really opened my eyes, and it really educated me and gave me other perspectives of how to see the major impacts of the 21st century in the current humans. An amazing book. I would highly recommend it.
Aki, thank you so much for your time, for revealing a bit of our secret. Here's a little present for you. Those are actually decorative candles made out of old bottles. So it's sustainability square. So enjoy.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Nadia. I was not expecting this, to be honest with you.
It's from our partner Navzdory. So if you want to check them, you can Google.
I will. Thank you.
And for all of you, thank you so much for your attention. And next time you can look forward to another episode in Czech language. Feel free to like the video, comment if anything was interesting or shocking for you. Of course, subscribe and let us know what would be interesting as a topic for you. Cheers!